Hey, welcome to today's video. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 2 simple tricks and mindset shifts to improve all of your relationships. Let's dive in. So the first one, which is not easy, actually neither one of these are easy, but this one's not easy, but it's just something to continue to keep reminding yourself, is that everyone's doing their best. Everyone is doing their best at every moment, because if they could do better, they would do better, which also means that every person who's ever screwed you over and how your parents didn't give you what you wanted to, or whatever it might be, they didn't give you the love or the time or the attention or whatever it might be, every person that is currently in front of you that you'll ever meet is doing the best they possibly can. But also every person that's ever done, quote unquote, something to you, they were trying their best. They were doing their best. It can be hard because if we're being real, people can be really damn difficult, can't they? They can be. And it's really important to realize that is them doing the best that they can based off of everything that they know, everything they've been taught, and everything that they've learned in their entire lives. If they could be doing better, they would be doing better. And so it's important to remember that every single person has their own set of unique experiences, emotions, circumstances, history that greatly influences their behavior and their actions. And the thing that I know is, being in the industry that I've been in for as long as I've been in, I have heard, you can see somebody who seems normal, they seem like everything's okay, but then they tell you all of the stuff that's happening in their life right now. And you're like, oh my God, you poor thing. Or they tell you about what happened in their childhood. And you're like, oh my God, you poor thing. You have to understand that everyone is doing the best that they possibly can at every single moment. If you knew all of the stuff that person's been through in their life, it would probably be easier to have compassion. The problem is we only see the adult man that's an asshole right in front of us, and we don't see, the 6-year-old little boy who was verbally assaulted by his father every single day. We're only seeing the adult. We're not seeing that little wounded child inside of him that's still there that didn't heal yet. And if we did, and we did see that little 6-year-old child and what he had to go through every single day of his life, it would be easier for us to have compassion. And one of the things I'm always reminding myself of as I'm continuing to work with people and continuing to be just out in life is that all adults that you come in contact with are just wounded children in adult bodies. It's the truth. Because most people are not healed. Some people are trying to heal themselves. Some people are unaware that they can even heal themselves in the first place. All adults, 99.99999%, I'll say, are just wounded children in adult bodies. And they don't know that those wounds are still making them who they currently are. And they're still hurting them because they haven't healed them. There's many factors that can impact a person's behavior. They can impact a person's actions. It's happened. If you think about all of the stuff that's happened in the past few years, it's insane. Some people have been through some shit, right? They've had sicknesses. They've had people that have been close to them die. Some people have lost their jobs. They've lost everything. A lot has happened in the past few years, and mental health issues are just skyrocketing. And so somebody might be struggling in their life, and you have no idea because they don't present that. They might be struggling financially, emotionally. They might be struggling in a relationship or their marriage. They might have a sick child, all of this. But you have no idea what's going on in their life. Like, I remember I had a mentor one time was talking about how a lady had cut him off. I remember I was like 19, 20 years old when he told me this. A lady cut him off. He scarily cut him off, and he got really pissed off, like furious, right? Like, this lady's fucking crazy. She almost killed me. And then he pulls up to the stoplight to give it to her, right? And he pulls up to the stoplight, and the lady's next to him in her car crying. And he thought to himself, oh my God, I don't know what she's going through. And the thought came into his head, she might be rushing to the hospital to go see her child. So you never know what someone's going through in their life, because a lot of times people present as if nothing's going wrong. Someone might be struggling with mental health. They might be struggling with anxiety, with depression, and all of those things can greatly affect their behavior and their ability to make decisions. And so really what it comes down to is, how can we not let other people's actions affect us, and to be able to give compassion as much as we possibly can. There may also be dealing with personal problems as well. Someone might have financial problems right now. They might have just gotten fired, or they might be really close to getting fired, or they're worrying about getting fired. They might have just lost their house. They might have relationship issues with their children. They might have relationship issues with their wife or their husband. All of these things can cause someone to act in ways that they wouldn't normally act. And their emotions can be very high. And when emotions are high, logic is low. And sometimes people do things that are out of character for them, and they don't even really know that they did it. They kind of black out, and then they're like, oh my God, what did I just do? Why did I just do that? It's important to really, for all of us out there, and myself included, I'm speaking to myself and I'm always speaking to you guys. It's important for us to have compassion for everyone, because we never really truly know what someone's going through in their lives, in their mind, everything. And instead of immediately judging somebody and condemning somebody for the actions and what they did, what we should try to do, and what would be really nice, is if we could all, every person in the world get better at this. What we should try to do is try to understand and acknowledge the factors that may have influenced their behavior, and say, listen, I don't know what that person's going through. Yeah, they did do X, Y, and Z to me, but I have decided that I'm not going to let this affect me, and I'm going to, disconnect my feelings of anger or frustration towards that person, and I'm just going to give them love. It doesn't mean you have to go up to them and be like, hey, do you want a hug? I'm not saying that. It could just be like, energetically, I'm going to stop coming from a place of anger and being pissed off. And I'm just going to put myself into a state of love and say, hey, I'm going to just send you some good vibes. And by doing so, what we do is we create a more empathetic, understanding society where people can feel supported. They can feel valued rather than judged and rejected. I was saying this earlier today on one of my Zoom calls that I was on with Mindset Mentor University, the weekly group calls that I do. And I was saying, when you think about somebody who pisses you off, whatever it is that pissed you off about that person, whatever they quote unquote did to you, there's a part of you that is the same as them. So if they were rude in some sort of way, there's still a part of you that's rude. You're not perfect. If they were mean in some way, there's a part of you that's mean. And so a lot of people want everyone else to change in this world. They want everyone else to change. You should change this and you should change this. But in reality, you go back to the Gandhi quote, and I really started to understand in the past few years, is to be the change that you want to see in the world. Because we can't change other people, but we can change ourselves. And what we hate, quote unquote, hate or dislike, or what makes us frustrated about other people also lives inside of us, because we're not perfect beings. And so what we should do is be focusing on ourselves, because the way that we change society is by changing ourselves. If everyone in society just decided that they were going to change themselves, the whole world would be better. But instead, people are like, you need to change yourself. You need to be different. You need to act the way that I want you to act. Right? And so loving and supporting someone is better than lashing out at someone, and probably what they need in the first place. And when you get to that point, you allow someone to be able to change easier. I'm not saying this is easy, FYI. I'm not saying that any of this stuff is easy. All of this is hard. One of my favorite things is when I put something on Instagram, some reel talking about something, there's always somebody in the comments that says, easier said than done. I'm like, everything in this earth is easier said than done. Because in order to say something, all you have to do is just move your lips. So it's not easy, but it's something we should work towards, to be more compassionate. Compassion makes us focus and try to find the good in people, even when it might not be really immediately apparent. So instead of focusing on someone's negative actions, instead we could try to focus on their positive qualities and try to see if there's a way that we could find good in them. Because have you ever fucked up in your life? I'm sure you have. Wouldn't it be nice if when you did screw up in some sort of way, somebody, instead of lashing out at you, instead of judging you, guilting you, shaming you, any of that type of stuff, actually try to give you some love and support you and try to help you get past that thing? Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be nicer if when you screwed up, someone focused on your positive qualities and the good that you have and the good that you've done versus that one action that you did? The other thing is when I talk about finding compassion, I also think it's really important to start finding compassion for yourself. There's a relation, when I say improve your relationships, you also have a relationship with yourself at all points in time. And so you've got to realize, if you are going through life and you're still regretting or guilting or shaming yourself for something that you did in the past, can you find compassion for yourself? Can you find compassion for yourself? Can you find compassion for other people? When you find compassion for someone else, you don't carry anger and hatred with that person home with you. You can learn to let it go. It's like the phrase, anger is the acid that only burns the vessel, right? So it's like holding onto a hot coal, expecting that you're going to throw it at somebody, you never throw it at them, and you're the only one that gets burned. So what we can try to do is we could try to be a little bit more compassionate and realize, yeah, like that's just a hurt child that's right in front of me. And when we practice this compassion, we can feel a little bit more happiness in our life because we're not holding on to these things. We can feel a little bit more contentment in our life because we're not holding on to these things. And we can reduce our stress and our anxiety and just learn to let go. And listen, I get it. I fully get it. As I'm saying this, it can be really difficult to have compassion for other people sometimes because there are a lot of people who are assholes. There are a lot of people who will hurt. And especially when we've been hurt in the past and somebody that we're thinking of that maybe we're close to has hurt us in the past, it's hard to have compassion for them. And we think, well, if I have compassion for them, they're just going to continue to step on me. But what if we just have more compassion, and that might, us being in the energy of compassion around that person might be able to free them from whatever it is that's their destructive behaviors, or at least give us space to start allowing them to get past that. And compassion's a practice. It's something that you work on. It's something that you improve. It's not something that you're just born with. And this is why it's important for you to remember that anything that you do to try to do good for yourself, to try to do good for the world, is improving the world, even if you just a teeny tiny bit in everything that you do. And so every single person you come in contact with, how can you try to just leave them better than you found them? So that's the first one. The second thing that will definitely help you and improve your relationships is to make you realize that no one can change your mood. No one can change your mood. I was talking about this on a live earlier this week as well. Nobody can change your mood. Nobody can make you feel anything. Think about the last time that somebody really pissed you off. Okay, can you remember it? Can you bring it back up to surface? Can you feel those feelings of being pissed off them right now? What was it that they did that really pissed you off? What was your reaction to it? How did you react after you found out that they did X, Y, Z to you? What if I told you that it's not what they did to you? They did not trigger you. You triggered yourself. It was what you were, it's not what they did that triggered you. It's what you were thinking about what they did. It was not what they did. It was the internal conversation that you're having with yourself about what they did. And I always tell people, I care less about what you do. And what I really care about is the conversation that's happening in your mind at all points in time, because that's the thing that's causing all of your problems. That's the thing that's getting in the way of all of your relationships. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt said that years ago, and it's probably my most used quote in this podcast is, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent, which shows that nobody can make you feel anything. Nobody can make you do anything. Your lashing out, your reaction to somebody else has nothing to do with them. It has 100% everything to do with you. They triggered you. Sure, maybe, but they just did a thing and then you were triggered by it. And when you get triggered, as hard as it is to kind of accept this, when you're triggered, it's really a gift. It is the universe coming to you through the form of this asshole who is showing you where you are not free. The universe is coming to you to present you a lesson through this person. It's not about what that person does to you. It's about how you react to it. And I always say, Viktor Frankl, who went through Auschwitz, was a psychologist who went through Auschwitz and seen some of the worst things that humans can do to each other, says, he's got a famous quote that says, between stimulus and response is a space. Master that space and you master your life. So between somebody doing something, quote unquote, to you and the way you respond, there's a little bit of a space. It might be a millisecond. If you can master that millisecond, which is what you think about it and how you're about to react to that thing, you master your life. Like maybe somebody, just imagine somebody comes up to you and slaps you, right? Yeah, that's a good reason to be triggered. They did something to you, right? But, you might be able to walk up to some enlightened being, smack them. And what does it say? I'm just thinking about, how many ancient texts say something along the lines of, when somebody does something to you, turn the other cheek. So somebody else might not react the exact same way that you do to it. They might be able to have no reaction between that stimulus and the response. It's just let it go. When you realize that when you master your reactions, your life really starts to change. Master your reactions to being triggered, quote unquote triggered. Notice it, see what it is, feel it, and start to say, okay, I'm starting to feel really pissed off right now. Why am I feeling pissed off? Okay, I'm feeling pissed off because this person just did this thing to me. Okay, is it because they did that thing to me, or is it because of the fact that I'm thinking thoughts? Oh, they did this thing to me, then they're going to leave me. And if they leave me, I'm going to be alone forever. And if I'm alone forever, then I'm going to be sad. I'm going to die alone. And you realize, oh my God, something happened. And then I created an entire story around this thing that happened. So you've got to learn to master your reactions. So those are 2 quick, simple tips to improve your relationships. Number 1, just realize everyone's doing their best. They really are. I promise you that. And number 2, no one can make your mood change. It's you that decides to change your mood. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, do me a favor. Please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way that we grow is from you guys sharing it and through grassroots. So I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.